Hello there, friends. Thank you for being here with us today. Again, we are coming together to experience another amazing animal wellness expert. Dr. Barrie Sands is here with us. Hello, Dr. Sands.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, everybody. Good to be here.
Yes, and it's so great to have this opportunity. As you guys know, if you watched yesterday's or if you've heard about our little speaker series this week, we're just bringing to you three of our many experts that are in this realm of animal wellness and holistic health. There are these three particular individuals that I have become very close with and I have learned so much from myself personally, and I know that you will enjoy and learn so much from them as well. Dr. Sands is certainly one of them. She is a wealth of knowledge and just has a beautiful way of connecting her world, which is what she does is serves as a holistic veterinarian, also in the emergency room as a veterinarian. She is, as you'll see there, also HeartMath educated, which she might mention a little bit about HeartMath today in our session, and then a scientist and an author. She has written a fabulous book that always gets a chuckle because it's called The Stupid Things My Human Does. Yep. True stories from the ER. There it is. Dr. Sands will show it to us. So that is a great book to hear about some of the stories and experiences that she's had and that she kind of conveys to us to help us to learn to be even better pet parents. So why we also want to feature Dr. Sands is because she is one of the 6 experts that are part of our Total Wellbeing for Dogs course. It's our big signature online course. We do it just once a year. It spans over 6 weeks. So you dive into the 6 pillars of well-being. Dr. Sands is a participant in that, and not a participant, but a teacher and an educator in that, and will be really getting into the whole mind-body connection and the science behind the human-canine bond. So much of the non-material that we share and kind of flow between with our animals and in our environment. So it's really interesting the way that she's been able to also bring this into, as you can imagine, a rather stressful ER experience. I love to hear about her stories all the time. So Dr. Sands, thank you again so much for being here and just taking some time to share your wisdom with all of us.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome, Amanda.
So let's go ahead and just kind of kick it off with what inspired you in your veterinary experience and, in the early years, starting out as a conventional veterinarian, what inspired you to move more towards holistic medicine?
Yeah, well, there's always been a connection and a tie in my life, to mind, body, and spirit. And as a child, I always gravitated towards the ethereal world, things that are intangible, the dreams, the dream times, the in-betweens, the senses, and the ethereal, esoteric realms that we just couldn't see. As I grew up and got older and decided to go to school and become a veterinarian, my training drifted me into the conventional way that we are trained to diagnose ailments, to treat ailments. And it served a huge benefit and a purpose up until a certain point. And what I realized is that Western medicine is beautifully and importantly designed for the emergency room and for any emergent situations that our bodies undergo. And that's where our medicine and our training shine. However, in the realm of chronic disease, there is a huge gap between what we can do and how effective it becomes. And so that led me into going back to my roots, so to speak, and really dive into all the modalities that holistic healing can offer me, and things such as Chinese medicine, acupuncture, homeopathy, light therapies, energy medicine, things that connect the mind, the body, and the spirit towards healing.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, honestly, it was a lack of the results. You can only get results for so long in chronic diseases before they just cycle back, and they never seem to go away until something else is implemented.
And is that the most common thing that you see in the ER setting? Is that a lack of understanding of how to do that with our animals?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Our mindset is very linear. It's very cause and effect. It's a pill for an ill. It's instant gratification. It's damage control, and as opposed to being preventative minded and putting the efforts into the wellness up front to maintain a state of health and balance and harmony, as opposed to, well, I'll just deal with it when it breaks.
Mm,
So that's a whole paradigm shift of a mindset.
yeah.
And when people start to embrace the differences, then they start making the changes. However, they don't embrace the differences until really bad damage happens.
Mhm.
And they've been in and out of the ER multiple times for the same thing over and over and over again. And
Mhm.
they've done this so often that they are led to believe that it's normal, and it's
Mm.
something that their pets will always just do because that's what happens. And
Yeah.
nobody else is giving them a different conversation or a story around how can we shift that.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. How do we shift it? And then the learning of exactly what to do, because it isn't being taught to us in the mainstream, let's just call it that. And so we have to seek it out and find it. And that's exactly why we've put together this course, Total Wellbeing for Dogs. It's exactly why there are, there's such a need, is because, for myself included, when I started to have those experiences with my pets, the habitual or continual or kind of nagging issues, you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, on treatments that are basically just tending to these symptoms. Maybe can get that to go away for a week or two, but otherwise, how did we actually heal them? And it's pretty hard and slash confusing to try to
Mhm.
figure out how to do that, because you start Googling, what should I feed my dog or something like that, what's best, what's healthiest to feed my dog. It's actually funny to Google that,
Right,
because you're led so astray and there's so much information and confusion with marketing. So that's exactly why this whole conversation has to be had, to kind of filter through all of that information and get to the truth of what heals our animals and how we can do that for them, how we can support them with that.
right, right.
Yeah.
And it's truly a change of your mindset, and it's a decision that you make.
Yeah.
From one moment to the next, you make it. There'll be a point in your life, in the life of your pet, where you'll make a decision, and that decision is going to be to do something different.
Yeah.
And when you have that intention to already do something different, well, now you need to have that information of, okay, now how do I do that? Now that I want to, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And it's forums like this which gives people the tools and the understandings of how to navigate into that realm, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. It talks about lifestyle changes and dietary changes, and avoidance of certain toxins and things that the how the environment affects our internal self, even with the emotions and the thoughts that we have that our animals pick up on. So
Yeah.
it's truly like an overhaul, and it is quite overwhelming, because
It
there's
can be.
so many, spokes in the wheel
Yeah.
that equate to that center wholeness. And
That's
people
exactly
just
the analogy that I always use. I love that. Anyone on that's followed us for a while, they've heard that me say that same thing before, because there are a lot of spokes, and yet it can seem overwhelming on one hand, because there are so many tools and different ways of thinking. But yet, in my experience, and I'm guessing yours too, sometimes just one change can make all the difference. Sometimes
yes,
just sometimes
sorry.
right. Sometimes just a thought of intentional change will create will start to create change in the household and for that animal, because so much of it is vibrational and energetic. So that kind of leads me actually to my other question for you. Another question is, you have a very unique approach to healing. And that's why I'm very excited to have you in Total Wellbeing for the first time this year. So what is in a nutshell, that we'll spend a lot more time diving into the details, but in a nutshell, what is that approach that you have to what truly helps us and our animals heal?
Well, I think it really boils down to an immersive, holistic approach where it 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 it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit difficult for me to explain. However, the approach it starts from the person that lives with the pet, the guardian, the friend, the caretaker, right? The one who loves the dog or the cat or the pet the most. And there has to be generally a shift in the individual that is caretaking for the pet to create the shift in the pet. And as the holistic approach, sometimes it doesn't start from the human, it starts from the animal. And then the animal will give it to the human, and the human will give it back to the animal. So it's a comprehensive, holistic approach that involves many different mechanisms, and the understanding that all healing is possible. And that is probably, I think, the foundation of most healing.
Yeah. It's so good. It makes me almost emotional when you say that, because I think I can almost feel so many of our viewers and people that will watch this replay, like they may feel stuck in that place of like, I don't think my dog or my cat can heal through this, or I don't think I myself can heal through this, but absolutely it's possible.
Right. And that's a fundamental belief system, that we have, and that we've gotten caught up in the stories, that are told to us, the stories that we tell ourselves, that it's not possible, that it is how it is, and this is the way it always was, and this is the way it's always going to be. It's kind of like those cats that vomit. They have your cat, 12 years of age, may vomit, I don't know, every day. And because it vomits every day, you think it's normal for that cat to vomit every day because it just does that. But it may be normal for that cat, but it's not normal to do that. Yeah. And there is some, underlying physiological imbalance that's creating that, whether it's the diet, the environment, the toxins, the over-grooming, the inflammation in the gut. I mean, on and on and on. There's all of these things, all these factors that interplay. And little by little, slowly peeling that onion into wellness is the possibility. So, I guess to answer your question, it's the holistic approach of the understanding that first and foremost, it's possible, and then have the intention to do so and to step into that realm of healing, and be okay with the unknowns, be okay with the trials and tribulations. It may not work out the way you expect at first. It takes some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. And I'm just reading through some of the comments. Thank you all for being here. Also, it's great to see you, Noemi and Ella. Ella always tunes in with us. She's from the Netherlands and works really beautifully with the animals there. Jolene is with us. So we have a question here. Oh, from Jolene. Let's just see what she says. I've learned and read so much the past 25 plus years, and I see so many struggles in various Facebook groups, especially canine kidney disease. I often don't know where to start and what to recommend. What is the first place that you would recommend starting? It's a good question.
Well, if I understand the question, you're asking specifically about canine kidney disease.
Right? Yeah, and I think probably it's a good question that applies to any illnesses that she's seen online, that people are just following a certain path, and she's trying to open them up to a more holistic path.
Well, I mean, the first and foremost is, to find information that is reliable and trusted, right, from holistic, practitioners. And, specifically, that's such a loaded question, honestly, because there is so many reasons why a body will become imbalanced.
Mhm.
And even in different cultures, if you think about, from an Ayurvedic sense versus a traditional Chinese medicine sense versus a conventional medicine sense, kidneys in and of themselves, we have energetic meridians that are flowing through our bodies that are traveling along, the fascia and the sinews of our bodies. So sometimes, kidney problems could be just not enough blood flow, not enough innervation to help the kidneys function properly. And so then you backtrack, say, well, where is that blood flow coming from? And where are those nerves innervating from? And a lot of it comes from your back and your lower back. So perhaps maybe some dogs who have kidney issues already have energetic, fascial issues around their back areas in their lower lumbar spine, which help innervate the kidneys. So it's an approach that, to focus on perhaps, understanding what do the kidneys need. Well, kidneys like fluids. They're a filtering organ. They're a detoxifying organ. So what can I do to help a kidney? It needs moisture. So more moisture in your diet would be the most obvious thing to do. Transition to wet foods as opposed to kibbles, adding moisture and water, fresh water, filtered water. Things like that. There's not, unfortunately, with the level of healing that we want to do on a holistic level lends itself to more of a quantum mechanical mindset, and out of the Newtonian mechanisms that we learned as, very predictable outcomes would cause an effect. Like I do this and this happens, I do this and that happens. Unfortunately, the healing around that has so many avenues to go down, and there's not one right answer. And a lot of the answers kind of can depend upon the stage that you're at and where you are. So when I have a patient in front of me, I always will try to meet the patient where they're at and create the healing on that level. Right?
Yeah.
The most obvious, it's sort of thinking about the body as a tree where you have branches and a trunk and the roots.
Yeah.
That you may have a poor foundation and the soil's not rich enough and the roots haven't taken hold. They don't have the nutrients. However, what's happening is that the branches are in dire emergency. Maybe your branches are on fire. So you're not going to worry about the soil and watch the tree burn. You need to put the fire out in the branches first.
Yeah.
So there's a process of healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, again, we go back to why it takes some time to learn it. We're not going to cover it in a short session like this to be able to answer all the questions. I see some of our viewers have written in some questions about ailments and conditions that they might be struggling with, but that's why we have a course. That's why we have 6 weeks to go through all of this. That's why we have the experts, and then time, at least a half an hour with each expert each week to open up the lines, to be able to answer those specific questions as much as we can, without having the dog physically in front of them. But that's where we can really get into some of these specific conditions and what might be helpful, like you just did for kidneys. So I want to ask you, Dr. Sands, I mentioned on your intro that you are certified in HeartMath. So I know that our viewers, likely a lot of them, don't know what that is. So in a tiny nutshell, just a few minutes, will you share with us what is it and how does it relate to our animals and ourselves?
Yeah, HeartMath it's an institution, first of all. It's an institution based in Northern California that since the early 90s has been doing very in-depth scientific research on the intelligence and intuition of the heart, and how our hearts and our the functions of our hearts are related to the rest of our physiology, and how emotions and thoughts drive physiology in very profound biological relevant ways, affecting your autonomic nervous system, your immune system, your endocrine system, to create an optimum physiological total body wellness. And the techniques that they have designed to help create what's called coherence. And coherence is an energetic state of being where your heart is in rhythm and alignment with your brain. And simply put, your brain has two hemispheres, a left and a right hemisphere. And it is the perfect place for duality, where we sit all the time. If this, then that, right or wrong, going back and forth. And the heart is an organ that is completely unified. And when we are in our heart space, where we do meditations and we bring our attention to our hearts, and we bring elevated emotions into our consciousness, that sets up this connection to this unified field within our bodies, and our hearts, and also connections to the other frequencies around us. And the heart sends about 90% of its ascending nerve signals to the brain first. And we don't realize that the heart talks to the brain first. We always think that the brain is talking to everybody, but that's not quite how it works. And they're milliseconds apart, but the heart knows. The brain thinks and the heart knows. And so when we can get these two organs talking to each other in alignment, basically we're quieting the brain, and we're closing off that duality and making the brain to be a unified organ, just like the heart. And then when we get into that space, that's where the healing happens. And that's where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm. That's where we can access everything, potentially, everything and anything.
Everything and anything. That's where we access our intuition, our ability to connect with ourselves, and to cause shifts and changes in our biology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's also it's possible that we can help our animals shift their biology by our own biology shifting and creating the intentionality around the change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. Well, we could definitely talk to you all day, because, it's super fascinating, especially like the deeper we go. Like if we could peel back that one more layer, it gets really, really interesting. And I definitely look forward to having time to be able to do that with you. I want to just check over here and see if there's any questions. Jolynn says, I bought a HeartMath device in June using feels like a measurement of how open my heart is. Exactly. That basically is kind of it, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's the technology was designed by very smart people to extrapolate all the different sensory output from the body, and created this algorithm where it will actually test your coherence via heart rate variability. And, we don't have time to get into that now, but, on the presentation that I have coming up, we will definitely talk about that and what that means, and how we can shift our own, affect our own heart rate variability, and how we can affect that even in our pets.
I think that's one of the coolest things. I know I enjoy it so much about total well-being for dogs, and I hear that feedback from others, is that yes, our driving force, our initial kind of inspiration to do this is to help our dogs and our cats and our other fur friends and feathered friends. But what ends up happening in the class is there's so much that applies to our human selves. Maybe that's even why we ended up in this class. We don't even realize how applicable and powerful and effective it can be to utilize much of what we're learning for ourselves. And it'll just go off like light bulbs. Even every time we hold this course, there is is a very specific, different path of a voice of learning, a lesson, a method, and then an application that comes through for me over those 6 weeks. And I've heard that from so many other people. Maybe it was something specific that they're struggling with in their own life, but it suddenly appears very clear why this was the right timing for this course. So it's really interesting to see the way that universe is channeling us to the places that we need to be, and our dogs and our cats and our dear friends in this animal kingdom are guiding us along this path to do much more than just feed them better. Although that is one of their reasons for wanting to do this.
Well, it's all paramount. It all fits in with each other, honestly. And, the beauty about a course like this is that you'll probably see that everyone who speaks and gives information, there's going to be an overlap of philosophies and ideas throughout, the different modalities. So you'll hear something one way that someone's going to say, and then you'll hear it another way. And there's going to be a time and a place where the information that is presented to you is going to be received in a way that is profoundly impactful. And sometimes it's because you've heard it so many times, but sometimes it's because you've reached a level of awareness that all of a sudden it resonates on a different frequency, where you get that aha moment and say, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
And it's this, that's that light bulb that goes off, and, I think we all experience that in various ways. I've learned one thing, I could read it 100 times and in very different sources. And then one day I read it again, and it's like, oh, now I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the timing. It's the perfect timing of the information and your experience coming together and being open to receiving it at that very moment. And it's beautiful to see the way that, again, that happens so much in our world with our animals, but also in our human world and in the exchange that we have with this community. It's very special. So I thank all of you for being here. I thank you, especially Dr. Sands, for just being part of this conversation, for doing the phenomenal work that you do in the world. For our listeners, I have put in a link into the comments, into the chat, where if you're interested in the course, you want to learn more, you can go through that link and you'll see all the details about the course. Gives you a lot more explanation and into the curriculum a bit too. And then just reach out to me at any time with any questions. We look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks and going on this beautiful ride together. And any final words before we wrap it up, Dr. Sands?
Well, I just want to say I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share my knowledge with as many wonderful people that is out there that wants to partake in this beautiful journey that you've set up. I'm very grateful for that, for the opportunity. And, I wake up in the mornings and I say, to myself, and I say, how can I be of service today? And it doesn't even matter who it's to. It could be to my dog. It could be to my cats. It could be to my neighbor down the street, and that just opens up this beautiful doorway for connection, right? And it's all about our connection with ourselves, with our pets, with our friends, our family, our higher beings, that are with us to, help us on this journey. So I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. And I look forward to, working with a lot of you that come. Yeah.
Well, and good luck at your presentation. Dr. Sands is very soon off to the AHVMA, the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. She's one of the speakers there, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to learn more from you in that context, and so excited that you're there teaching all the other vets. So this is the information we need to get out there more and more. So thank you all for tuning in with us today. Lots of love and blessings to you and your fur friends, and we will be back in touch soon. Namaste.
Thank you.